Your skincare routine is solid, so why is your skin still freaking out? Well, it might not be your products, it might be stress. Today, I'm breaking down all of the sneaky ways that stress shows up on your skin and how to spot the signs. I'm Dr. Sam Ellis, and I am a board-certified dermatologist in Northern California, and I'm here to help you understand your skin and find products that work for you. So if you like that type of content, make sure you give the video a thumbs up and you're subscribed to the channel. Something that I love about dermatology and what drew me to the field is that the skin is really a window into what's happening internally. And being able to help patients recognize those connections and implement the appropriate interventions is incredibly rewarding. And I'm gonna be doing more videos on this inside to outside connection, discussing things like gut health, thyroid health. So if that interests you, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss a video. But today we are specifically focusing on stress and what the stress hormone cortisol does to your skin. First of all, we need to understand what cortisol is. It is a hormone produced by your adrenal glands, which are these tiny little glands that sit on top of your kidneys. And it's released in response to stress. It's part of your fight or flight response. And it basically affects every organ system. It helps you control your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your mood, your immune function. Everything in your body, cortisol touches. When you're under acute stress, cortisol helps you react and recover. But if you have chronic or dysregulated stress from poor sleep, emotional stressors, chronic physical stressors, that's when it becomes problematic. And the cortisol our own body makes is in a class of hormones called glucocorticoids. And I make that point because some people have to be on medication that are glucocorticoids, like prednisone or dexamethasone. And people who take those medications chronically can also develop some of the same skin signs as having excess cortisol. Also, if someone has an abrupt onset of some of these changes, it always makes me suspicious that someone could have a cortisol-producing tumor, which are incredibly rare, but I have seen them in my clinical practice. Now, with that said, let's get into how stress and how cortisol specifically affect your skin and what signs to look out for. Number one is thinning skin. Chronically high cortisol levels lead to the increase of something in your skin called matrix metalloproteinases, and these are enzymes that actually break down your collagen. So people that have high levels of cortisol over time are going to notice that their skin is thinner, that it maybe sags a lot faster, and that they develop new fine lines and wrinkles. Aside from noticing that skin thinning, which is going to usually be the most obvious and prominent on places like the backs of the hands, the elbows, the knees, you'll also notice that you bruise more easily when you have high cortisol levels. Collagen gives your skin support and structure, and it creates like a little hug around the blood vessels in your skin. So when that collagen breaks down and then you have a small amount of trauma to the skin, blood can kind of ooze out of the blood vessels more easily, and that leads to bruises. And part of that thinning skin also means you're going to be much more prone to developing stretch marks, and these don't tend to look like the traditional stretch marks of puberty or pregnancy. When you have cortisol excess or steroid excess, your stretch marks tend to be wider and much darker. And you also may see them show up in atypical places. So yes, you can get them on the abdomen and on the breasts, but you may notice them on the outer thighs, the lower back, and even places like around the knees. The second thing you may notice with high cortisol is slow wound healing. Higher levels of cortisol suppress your immune system, and that's actually why we give steroids as medication for some people. If their immune system is overactive, we can calm it down with things like prednisone or dexamethasone. But having your immune system chronically suppressed actually inhibits your ability to heal wounds. Regulated inflammation is an essential part of the wound healing process. So when you have that excess cortisol, you may notice that cuts, small scrapes, even acne breakouts take much longer on average to heal. The third sign of cortisol excess in the skin is something called acanthosis nigricans, these dark, velvety patches of skin that tend to develop around the neck, in the armpits, and in the groin. Like I mentioned before, cortisol affects your blood sugar, and it can lead to something called insulin resistance, meaning that your body needs to produce more insulin in order to regulate your blood sugar. And elevated insulin levels stimulate skin cell growth and melanin production, which is the pigment in your skin, and that's where you get that thickened, darker skin in certain body areas. Sign number 4 of stress on your skin is breakouts. Increased acne. And I feel like we know this intuitively, right? Like if you ever had to study really hard for finals in college and you got this big breakout, or somehow why does every bride get a new breakout right before the big day? That is stress affecting your skin. Cortisol not only stimulates your sebaceous glands to produce more oil, but it also disrupts your skin's microbiome. So that allows for the overgrowth of acne-causing bacteria and yeast. And on your skin, this may just show up as increased acne in the areas that you tend to break out, but intense steroid acne tends to look a little bit different. It can be anywhere on the face, but we also often see it show up on the body, on the chest, and on the back. And the typical descriptor of steroid acne is monomorphic, meaning that every single acne bump looks about the same size and the same shape. I very distinctly remember a patient from my dermatology residency who came in with all these new breakouts on their face, their chest, their back, and they were there just for a standard acne appointment. But because it looked so much like steroid acne, we worked them up for cortisol excess, and it turned out that they had an undiagnosed adrenal tumor. And I don't say that to scare anyone, it's more to raise awareness around the fact that if you have an abrupt or sudden change in your skin, it's worth getting evaluated. Now, another thing you may notice with chronic stress, and this sign is a lot more subtle, is worsening dullness, uneven skin tone, and even increased dark circles under the eyes. Stress essentially restricts blood flow away from the skin and towards your vital organs. And it also decreases your production of ceramides, or the lipids in your skin that help prevent things like transepidermal water loss, so things that help keep your skin moisturized. Stress also decreases the production of lipids, which are the fats naturally found in your skin barrier. So your skin barrier can weaken, it can allow water to pass through the skin barrier more readily, and it can make your skin look dehydrated. When this happens, your skin is going to look dull, it's going to look pale. Also remember, we're having that increased breakdown of collagen, so it's going to make areas on your face that have very thin skin, like your under eyes, more prominent. All right, I just have 2 more signs of stress on your skin to go over, and both are very important, but if you've already picked up a few tips or learned a few things from this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. A very common sign of stress on the skin is recurring or frequent skin infections. Like I mentioned before, elevated cortisol suppresses your immune system, which makes it harder for your body to fight off bacteria, fungi, and viruses. And it also makes your skin barrier weaker, which makes it vulnerable to external pathogens. So you may notice more frequent bacterial infections like folliculitis, more frequent fungal or yeast overgrowth conditions like athlete's foot or jock itch, or an overgrowth of yeast in the mouth called thrush. You'll also probably notice an increase in skin infections caused by viruses like cold sores and shingles. In my own clinical practice, I have been seeing so many more cases of shingles, especially in younger patients, and I am certain it is due to increased stress. Which leads me to my final sign of stress in the skin, which is flare-ups of chronic skin conditions. Stress is infamous for triggering conditions like eczema, psoriasis, acne, rosacea, even hair loss conditions, which I can make a whole separate video about. Oftentimes when I have an adult coming in with new onset eczema or psoriasis, and they're like, I've never had this before, why is this happening? Usually we can track it back to some new and increased stress in their life as well. And how I explain this to my patients is stress is not the root cause of their eczema or psoriasis. They are genetically predispositioned to develop it. But then when you have these high levels of stress, your body's essentially not able to fight that skin condition as readily, and it sort of gets unleashed on your skin. And that's actually why stress management is a huge and essential part of treating chronic skin conditions like eczema or psoriasis. So if you're seeing any of the signs I talked about, your body may be telling you it's time to slow down. It's not just about your skincare. Managing your stress is skincare too. If this video helped you connect the dots, make sure to give it a like and let me know in the comments which signs you've noticed in your skin. If you want more content like this, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Your skin will thank you. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch you next time.